Hey y'all, Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and this is my Seattle Real Estate Market Watch for March 11th, 2024. Well, these numbers are coming to you here a little earlier in the week. It is Monday versus Tuesday. The big reason is, well, my wife is expecting our 5th child, and I want to make sure that I get this info to you as that's all, well, it's imminent. So I know I can do it today. How's that? If we look at the mortgage rates here week over week, we're seeing that mortgage rates have trended down slightly. Last week on Mortgage News Daily Survey, we were just over 7%, 7.03% when we filmed. And this week, 6.87. So not a big drop, but a little bit of a drop. Last year, for some perspective, we were at 6.75%. Now, rates last year jumped up into the 8s and have been on their way down, stuck, it seems like, in neutral around 7% or so. But hopefully, when we get the most recent or next Fed announcement, the data will be encouraging and we'll start to see the markets responding again. And the hope is that the Fed will stick to what they said and do some rate cuts later in 2024. And if that happens, it's going to stimulate the real estate market, right? The housing market has been a little bit stalled across the country and specifically in Seattle due to the higher rates. And that's the point, is to slow things down. But there are a lot of buyers even now returning to the market. And we're seeing that because pending sales have been jumping up just as the new listings have been coming to the market. But let's start with new listings here. 542 new listings this last week in King and Snohomish counties, and that is up from 490 the previous month, and really a lot from last year. Last year, we were at 423 new listings, so more than 100 new listings. That's a lot. Back on the market, we saw about the same amount of houses, 44. A lot of those are the canceled listings. If we looked at the bottom here, 47 canceled listings, 44 back on the market. So a lot of those are just relisted. The list price reductions, this is a good one here, 142 list price reductions. That is up from last week. So some houses have been sitting. That means that not everything is just selling right away. It's still important where the house is priced. So somebody thinking about selling, your house is not just going to sell because you put it on the market right now. Sometimes it feels like you can just put it on for whatever price. That's never actually true, but now more than ever, the pricing is really important if you want the most for your house and also a quicker sale. Contingent sales here over the past week have remained in that range that we've been seeing for quite a while now. We had 7 versus 13 last week, and last year we had 16 contingent sales. So we have trended down, but we're still in that range depending on the week. So it is still possible to buy with a contingency on selling your home, although it's becoming more and more difficult. The expired listings, only 7. We had more last week. It's mainly because it was the end of the month, or at least there were a few of those that were lumped into our update. Pending sales. I mentioned this earlier on in the update, 748 pending sales. Last week we had 658, so that's a pretty big jump week over week. Last year we had 721, so about right in line with what we'd expect. But we saw an uptick, right, in new listings, but we also saw a large uptick there in pending sales, which is encouraging to see. Now, closed sales lagged a little bit from last week, 448, up from last year, 462, but down from the previous week at 558. A lot of that is just still some of those end of the month homes getting in and being reported. As I'm looking at this data though, if I am thinking about selling my house, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged that there are more listings coming on the market and that the buyer activity is keeping up. The monthly market updates that I do as well, I'm going to be publishing here. I did King and Snohomish County and also Seattle and Bellevue. And in all cases, we saw that home prices have been on the rise as a result of the just lack of supply. So we've been seeing more listings coming on, but the buyer activity is there. People are paying over asking price. That's something else that I noticed across the board, that homes are selling for above asking price countywide and also in some of the more expensive places. So if you're a buyer, things are picking up and they're already heating up. They're not by any means at the peak of the frenzy that we've seen in the Seattle market, but at the same time, it's already shifting towards a seller's market. And maybe it never really got away from a seller's market, but it was a little more balanced in parts of 2022 towards the end of the year and early part of 2023. But things are definitely trending in the seller's favor if you are thinking about buying. So I would advise, if I was a buyer getting started with the search, I would advise getting that pre-approval done and starting to take those steps. I think waiting is going to cost you a lot of money. I think it's going to be a lower interest rate potentially, which you can get later as well. You can always refinance your interest rate. But I think as a buyer, waiting is going to cost you money. You are going to spend more money to buy a house when the interest rates start coming down than you will right now. So I would encourage, if you were thinking about buying, doing that sooner rather than later. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's Seattle Housing Market Watch. If this information was valuable for you, please consider subscribing and following along. And if there's some way that I can bring value to you in your situation, whether it's just information about the market or you want to sit down and talk a little bit more about buying or selling, I'd love to be a resource for you.